Well, yes, and welcome. This is basically a static page that's 35. We will begin to play the videos from our Texas statewide election elected officials. Please watch your screen. In other words, we are still stuck in limbo. I will say that a lot of this is not the party's fault. Clearly, it is. The party is doing everything it can to make something out of nothing, and I kept asking the party to change the Senate district caucuses to all of which. So now we're seeing what we're basically seeing are these are the promo videos for the candidates, and so basically they're going to let us be entertained for a little while, and so we can hear what the candidates have to say. I'll expand this and then let you see what they are showing.
I have issued a proclamation terminating the period of hostilities of World War II.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of it soon.
We are one people with one destiny. We all salute the same great American flag.
We live in times of great anxiety, but the Bible teaches don't be anxious. Instead, it reminds us that He will heal this land. God works through each of us to fulfill that prophecy. Now, I know that many of you all are frustrated. So am I. I know that many of you do not like the mask requirement. I don't either. It is the last thing that I wanted to do. Actually, the next to last. The last thing that any of us want is to lock Texas back down again. We must do all that we can to prevent that. But each day, the facts get worse. In just the past month, hospitalizations increased every day and quadrupled to more than 10,000. Many regions are running out of ICU beds, and deaths have almost quadrupled, reaching more than 100 in one day last week. If we don't slow this disease quickly, our hospitals will get overrun, and I fear it will even inflict some of the people that I'm talking to right now. Well, I also know that many of you say that my orders are unconstitutional. But remember, I was the Attorney General who fought for your First Amendment, your Second Amendment, and your 10th Amendment rights at the United States Supreme Court. I will never abandon the Constitution. And I haven't here. The conservative Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals, in an opinion by a Trump appointee, recently upheld the constitutionality of my executive order authority. The court ruled that even a minor delay in the state's emergency measures could have major ramifications. The court held that my executive order is a constitutional and even necessary response to the pandemic crisis. Now, I know there are issues that we may differ on, but I also know there is so much that we agree on. Things like beating Joe Biden and reelecting Donald Trump. Now, Joe Biden, he may be hiding in his basement somewhere, but we know exactly what his vision for America is. Joe Biden and the Democrats, they want to cancel conservative speech. They want to grab your guns and tax your churches. They want to dismantle the greatest economy the world has ever known. We need a president who will promote American patriotism, not desecrate it. We need a president who will support our law enforcement officers, not defund them. We need a president who will secure our border, defend the unborn, and fight for religious liberty. We need to re-elect Donald J. Trump as President of the United States of America. As Republicans, we must unite around this common cause. We must work together to seize this defining moment in our history. We must save our nation from the grips of socialism and ensure that we remain one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, so these are the basically the campaign ads by the different Republicans, and basically trying to charge up the Republicans. Here's from Sid Miller.
Conquer or perish. It is vain to look for present aid. None is at hand. We must act now or abandon all hope. General Sam Houston, April 21st, 1836, San Jacinto. Just like the founders of our great nation, the founding fathers and mothers of Texas cherished freedom and liberty and were willing to sacrifice all they had, even their very lives, to secure their God-given rights for an overbearing and oftentimes tyrannical government. They instinctively knew their freedoms didn't come from government or from man. Instead, they were a precious gift from a loving God, and a gift worth fighting for. The story of Texas, just like the story of America, is one filled with struggle, adversity, and the spirit and courage needed to overcome any challenge or any obstacle that stood in the way. Today, the people of Texas are engaged in another great battle. Our freedoms, our livelihoods, our traditions, and our cherished way of life are under assault, not just from an invisible virus, but by anarchists who wish to destroy them with violence and intimidation. Not just by leftist news media, but also by elected officials and common government bureaucrats who believe they, and they alone, know what's best for our great state, our nation, and for the people who call Texas home. The new battle requires spirit, courage, and leaders who will never back down when our freedoms are under attack. Texas Commissioner of Agriculture Sid Miller is just such a leader. Sid Miller is passionate about Texas, and he's leading the fight to defend our precious freedoms. He won't back down from the challenge, he never has, because he knows the freedoms that define the great state of Texas and its people are worth fighting for.
Fellow Texans and patriots, will you join me in the fight as I stand here in front of this sacred monument? Texas shrine to independence. Our state and our nation are facing enormous challenges and threats to those things that we hold most dear, especially our cherished freedoms. You know, it's how we respond to these challenges that will determine our destiny and that of Texas. Will history show that Texans of 2020 stood firm and met the challenges head on, just like brave men who on this very ground gave their last full measure of devotion in defense of freedom and the pursuit of independence? Or will history judge us harshly for being the generations of Texans who let those ideals erode one by one until they existed no more? As we meet today as Republicans and as Texans, we have a very important decision to make. Will we defend our freedoms with the same fervor commitment, and devotion as those who in 1836 crossed over a line in the sand drawn by a sword just a few yards from where I now stand? Or will we be timid souls and allow an invisible virus and the response to it to erode our freedoms, our liberty, and our independence? Will we stand up to the anarchists who wish to destroy our nation, our traditions, our monuments, and our cherished way of life? Or will we stand down, be politically correct, cower, and let evil and violence win the day? I know how my question will be answered because of what I've...
The United States is in the midst of an energy revolution, and Texas is leading the charge, which is vitally important for our national security. Unfortunately, liberal extremists have used false information disguised as science to harm the oil and gas industry. Thankfully, in 2016, we elected two leaders that are bold enough to stand up for our nation's energy security and the jobs and economic growth it creates. President Donald Trump and Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian. While President Trump has exited the Paris Accords and reined in the out-of-control EPA, Wayne Christian has been on the front lines fighting for energy here in Texas. A former legislator and small business owner, Wayne Christian was consistently rated one of the most conservative elected officials, accumulating a strong record of standing for free markets and smaller government. A Grammy-nominated gospel singer, Christian has repeatedly stood strong for religious freedom, traditional family values, and protecting unborn life. Appointed by Governor Greg Abbott to the Interstate Oil and Gas Compact Commission, Christian passed a national resolution asking President Trump and Congress to return regulatory authority from the EPA and federal government back to the states. Christian will continue to work with conservatives like President Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott to achieve American energy dominance and make America great again.
A few years ago,
we are still waiting on the credentials for the Senate district and congressional district, but in the meantime, the party is giving us some basically some spots from the statewide candidates so that you can hear from them.
The COVID turned down. The U.S. surpassed Saudi Arabia, Russia, to become the largest producer of oil and gas on planet Earth. For the first time in over 70 years, we now enjoy economic security, energy dominance, and more important, national security. We no longer have to risk our best and brightest, our boys and girls, to go overseas for our energy. World War II, Eastern County, and the Roaring Ranger production was essential to the Allied victory. When the armistice was signed in 1918, the British War Cabinet declared the Allied cause floated to victory on a wave of oil. World War II, 7 of the 8 billion barrels of oil used to win the war came from the United States, much from the Big Itch and Little Itch pipeline in Kilgore, Texas, and the East Texas field. Winston Churchill, at the end of World War II, says, quote, "The war was won on a sea of East Texas oil," end quote. Today, Texas once again has the opportunity to make the world a safer place and more prosperous place because of the natural resources God has once again given us now in West Texas. The question for us today: will we stand up to the extremists on the left and allow AOC to implement her Green New Deal, the Democrats to keep the third historic gift from God in the ground, and have Joe Biden declare fracking illegal? In 1996, I became the first Republican in East Texas since Reconstruction to win the Texas House. My first 3 sessions, I was the Republican with the most Democratic district in the entire state. I was there during redistricting session when General Craddock sent the Democrats with their tails between their legs to Ardmore, Oklahoma for 2 weeks to listen to Willie Nelson play the guitar. We took control for the first time as a Republican majority in the Texas House. Today, we face an election that's far more important than Republican versus Democrat. We can either continue the greatest experiment in freedom God has ever allowed, which has lifted more out of poverty, created the greatest, strongest country in the history of the world, or go down the road of Joe Biden and his progressive cronies that want to send us down the road of communism and fascism. This is an important election. If we lose the majority in our Texas House, just 9 votes, we surrender redistricting and allow the Democrats to draw their map for the state of Texas for the next 10 years. I will never live to see another Republican president. As with any family, folks, our party will have disagreements. But I beg you, when we leave this convention, we must come together and have disdain for those who attempt to divide us on differences. There's too much at stake for us to continue to squabble and feud between now and November's election. You may win some points and you're going to lose some points, but I promise you, we, for God's sake, need to come together, be mature enough to shake hands, and when we leave this place, have a common goal in mind, which must include at least three things. Re-elect Donald J. Trump president of these United States, keep the majority of Republicans in the Texas House and Senate, and number three, make sure that my friend Jim Wright is the next railroad commissioner of the state of Texas. Faith, family, freedom. Thank you, God, for blessing the great state of Texas.
Yeah, we're waiting on the Senate we're waiting on the Senate district to the credentialing for Senate district, and the way it is going right now, it is 2:00, and we still don't have credentials for Senate district. We have Senate district caucus was supposed to start at 1:00. We're supposed to start congressional district caucus at 3:00, which means that the Senate district caucuses have right now less than an hour to do its business. As I had said earlier, I think that one of the problems with everything going on, I had asked the state party to change the schedule so that all the Senate district caucuses would be on Thursday and all congressional district caucuses would be on Friday. Instead, they just decided to keep both the Senate district and the congressional district caucuses where they were. And so we are basically going to be running right on top of each other. I can say that a lot of us will be moving on to the congressional district caucus. I'm going to at 3. That is if we can get credentialed. So they say that we have that the credential issue has been solved, but as of this moment, no credentials are in, and that would come in through email. So what the party is giving us is some commercials for statewide candidates so that you can kind of get a sense of who's running and why. So I guess I'll push it back to that.
I grew up, he said, Ryan, you know why we didn't have money for you to go to college? No? He said, Ryan, you weren't a planned pregnancy. It was that day that I found out not only did my parents not plan to have me, my parents were both coming out of divorces at the time when my mom got pregnant with me, and she had a plan. They had an appointment to have me aborted. 4 days before she went in to have the abortion, my mom decides, you know what, I can't do this. She calls my dad and says, I can't do it. Jim says, okay, let's get married. They're married today, still live down in Midlothian, Texas, and even had 2 more kids. I asked Dad, why didn't you tell me this stuff growing up? Dad says very clearly to me, son, we did not want you to be defined by your disadvantages. We want you to be defined by the possibilities. The 5 things that make up leadership and will translate into success are service, vision, communication, focus, and perseverance.
Ryan has demonstrated bold leadership as an engineer, in education, and in public service.
He's an inspirational leader, the kind of man Texas needs. I'm proud to support you, Ryan.
It is rewarding. There is no real way, I talked earlier, money, power, fame will not bring you happiness, but knowing that you've had a positive impact to others absolutely will.
Of all the lessons that I want to pass on to my kids, from how to run a business to how to serve your community, none of them came from government. They came from people like my parents. So when it comes to opportunity, I will never believe in government as much as I believe in you.
So as the commercials continue for the statewide candidates, we're still waiting on Senate district to the Senate districts to get credentialed. No credentials yet. Senate district conventions are supposed to occur at 1:00. Congressional district caucuses are supposed to occur at 3:00. So we are now past 2:00. We're waiting on credentials, and unfortunately, the party did not welcome any recommendations related to changing the schedule. I thought it was crazy for them to keep the schedule as it was written, and had asked that they change it so that the Senate district caucuses would all be on today, Thursday. So however long it takes to get all of this stuff meted out, they could do that and then put all the congressional district caucuses on Friday. So now what we are is we're backed up behind. We are literally going to give Senate district caucuses less than an hour to do their business. What's interesting is that unless they change the schedule and push the congressional district caucuses back, which I don't know why they wouldn't do that, but they haven't changed any of the schedule to this point. And here we are. We're at 2:00, and we're still not getting any information about what is going on. And bottom line, I mean, look, this is not. I don't blame the chair. I don't blame Republicans necessarily. This is what it is, right? We're in this, and we can't go back. So the bottom line is, how do we solve this? And this is a very frustrating thing. Thanks to Democrats in Houston, Sylvester Turner, and the city council, the Democrat liberal city council, we are now facing a convention that is. I mean, we haven't even started our convention. We're sitting and listening to ads from our statewide leaders. And I got to tell you, having never missed a state convention since turning 18, conventions are fun, but they are also somewhat of a beating. And the biggest beating is watching all of these ads and hearing some of the statewide office holders, give these rah-rah speeches to the choir. They're basically preached to the choir saying, we've got to get more Republicans elected and we got to reelect Donald J. Trump. And that's what all of these are going to be, they're all going to be saying. And it's basically kind of, you get tired head. And I'm not the only delegate that has been around who thinks this as well. So this is kind of the tired head moment. And to give you relief from it a little bit. And now we've got a TXU Energy commercial going on. I'm going to see what the next. All right, well, let's see what the next. Oh, Texas Realtors now have their commercial going on. So this is the way the convention makes its money, and it's understandable and good. But this is not why we're here, right? So we're waiting on Senate District Caucus credentials, and that is where we're at. So I don't want to leave you hanging and wonder what's going on.
I'm from San Antonio, and I am a Republican.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm from Grand Prairie, and I'm a Republican.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm from Austin, and I'm a Republican.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I live in Houston, and I'm a Republican.
Hi, I'm Giant from Austin. I'm a Republican.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm from Dallas, and I'm a Republican.
Howdy, my name is Jennifer Knezik, and I serve on the Texas Asian Republican Assembly. I'm a proud Texas Republican.
And I'm Anthony. I'm from Austin, and I'm a Republican. Will you join us?
Texas Asian Republican Assembly believes in the American dream, the principles of freedom, limited government, fiscal conservatism, national defense, and education. Find a local chapter at terragop.com.
We're still waiting on credentials for the Senate district. That's what's happening. We're watching the commercials, basically, for statewide candidates as we wait for credentials to come in. Senate District Caucus was supposed to start at 1. Congressional District Caucus supposed to start at 3. I don't know if they are going to be changing the schedule, moving the Congressional Caucus back, but at this point, nothing has changed on the schedule. So we're still waiting for the party to give us notice and let us know what's happening. So now we have some Texas trivia. Let's see what we got here. Okay, a little Texas trivia. I don't know how many you got right. Got about 5 of those right. Wait and see what is next. We're waiting on the Senate District credentials to come in. And as we wait, the party is giving us some commercials and some things to look at, and just gave us a little bit of trivia. The Senate District caucuses were supposed to start at 1 o'clock, and it is now 2:15, and so we're still waiting. So that means, and I don't know if the congressional district caucuses are going to be moved back or not, but bottom line, whatever happens, the Senate district, it appears, is going to have very little time to caucus, and so that is the problem. We're getting a lot of messages from delegates, basically talking about the trivia. So that's what the deal is. We can't have a convention until everyone is properly credentialed, and proper credentials are essential because we're going to be electing permanent chairs for the Senatorial District Convention. I believe we're going to be electing a state SREC members. I think that's today. It could be tomorrow. But bottom line, this is par for the course of, as far as a schedule goes. We're just way behind because of this online nonsense. So unfortunately, we don't have anything to go on at this point. Right now, my screen is set on the general session. That's what you're seeing there. That general session, once we get credentials, will be changed and will move into the Senate District Caucus. Now, I will say this, that if they don't change the time of the Congressional Caucus, I will be moving on to the Congressional Caucus Convention, Congressional Caucus 4, CD4. I'm right now, we're supposed to be in Senatorial District 2 Caucus, and no word yet on what they're going to do as far as schedule goes. I'm going to try and get our caucus chair for CD4 on the phone in a moment and try and find out if she's heard anything. But if things go along the way they have all week, I doubt she's going to have heard anything. So hang tight, and when we get credentialed, we will go into the caucus and we will start our meeting. This is frustrating not just for you, I'm sure, but also for every delegate who has been waiting and waiting to start this convention. So thanks for hanging in there with me.
proclamation terminating the period of hostilities of World War II.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of it soon.
We are one people with one destiny. We all salute the same great American flag.
We live in times of great anxiety, but the Bible teaches don't be anxious. Instead, it reminds us that He will heal this land. God works through each of us to fulfill that prophecy.
Yeah, the Senate district credentials are still not in. We're still waiting, and it is now after 3 o'clock, and we are no closer to knowing what is going on. I did get a message from Jason Ross, who is our State Republican Executive Committee member. Jason let me know that that there was nothing that he had heard as well, and so everyone is kind of being kept in the dark. This is a disaster of disasters for the party at this point. We can't thank the liberal leftists enough for doing this to us, and as much as we had hoped we could make this work, and everything in me believes that we're going to make this work. So we're not going to give up. Obviously, it's past 3. Senatorial district or congressional district caucus is supposed to go on now, and I haven't heard from the caucus chair about anything and on that. So I don't know where she's going to. What's going to happen there. So we're seeing more. We're just seeing more of the same from the party. There's no information. This is the problem. Unfortunately, in a time like this is when you need as much information as possible. You need to let delegates know what's going on, and they're not doing that. So we are at a standstill. And we will be at a standstill for some time, as far as we know. And so I guess we will wait and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this broadcast again. Okay, we're now going to hear an update from the chairman of the party, James Dickey. So here is Chairman Dickey.
My fellow delegates, thank you for your incredible patience today. This was not the kickoff that I was expecting for the convention that we've been working for and planning on for 3 years, and that one Democrat mayor worked to unravel. I am sorry for this unexpected delay. I wanted to let you know that the work on the credentialing system is still being refined. We are exploring all options for that program today. We expect to make conclusive decisions shortly so that we can be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you for your commitment to our party, for your service, and for your desire, like mine, to win in November. On that note, I am very happy to, at this time, personally introduce former Republican Party of Texas Chairman and Republican Party of Texas Volunteer Engagement Project Senior Advisor, Steve Munisteri, to give us an update on the work of the RPTVEP. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, delegates to the Republican Party of Texas 2020 convention. It is such an honor to have the opportunity to address you. As your three-time chairman, I know that the delegates to the convention are the heart and the soul of the grassroots movement. It's the whole reason why we exist. But as great as honor as that is, I have to confess I may have one higher honor. And that is recently I had the highest privilege of my life of serving on the White House staff for your president, Donald J. Trump. And if I might just take a moment to address some of the things going on with the administration. Now, I know it may come as a surprise to some of you, but the media doesn't always portray our president and our administration in exactly the correct fashion. In fact, having been behind the scenes and on the scene, I can tell you that many times when I was at the White House, I would look at the television set, see the headlines, and wonder what in the world they were talking about because it was so different inside the White House than what was being reported. What was really going on is we had dedicated men and women, many highly educated and the top of their fields, working hard to make this country better. And we did. This country was rocking and rolling economically. There's a lot of myths that the press put out, one of which is that we inherited a good economy or that Barack Obama should take credit for what Donald Trump has done. Although when it was reversed with Barack Obama, they always blamed everything on George Bush. But here is the truth. President Obama's economic growth peaked in 2015. It dropped dramatically in 2016 and was on the way down in 2017 to the point where after we took over, the president took over, economic growth increased by 40%. But more importantly than that, much more importantly than that, every person in America that was looking for a job and was trained could get one. Never before in the history of the United States of America has there ever been a time where there have been more job openings than job seekers, except when this president has been in office, and every month for about 3 years until we were hit with a foreign virus. Now, why is it I tell you all this? I tell you this as a reminder that you can't always believe everything that you read or hear. And so I'd like to talk to you about what you may be reading and hearing about the upcoming election, and then compare it to our reality here at the Republican Party of Texas. There's a lot of talk that Joe Biden has already been elected president, or that the polls are so wide that we're really in a deep hole, or that Texas might flip. You've heard all these things. This is what the press does not tell you, or maybe if they don't even know. And that is that these polls are largely of registered voters. So people that haven't registered to vote, that support the president, support our Republican ticket, if they're not registered, they're not included in the polls. And what we've been able to do, and what this project is about, the Republican Party of Texas Volunteer Engagement Program, are finding those unregistered supporters of the president, Senator Cornyn, and the rest of a Republican ticket. And over the last year, without the Democrats apparently realizing it, going out and registering an army of new Republicans. It all started a little over a year ago. Chairman Dickey authorized the start of the Republican Party of Texas Volunteer Engagement Program. And the idea was to recruit 10,000 volunteers to register 100,000 new Republicans. Well, we set that goal. And some of you may have received the news about a month ago that we actually surpassed the goal in June that we'd set for ourselves in October. Now, my staff will tell you that, quite frankly, last year when we set the 100,000, we had doubts whether we really could get that amount. We set it as a lofty goal. But not only did we blow by it in June, we set a new goal, and that goal was for 120,000. Well, let me be the first to tell you that we just got the data 48 hours ago from the Secretary of State, and we've already blown past the new 120,000 goal. In fact, we have 125,600 confirmed new Republicans. But the good news doesn't stop there. 5,307 Republicans have told us they've got the registration form and they're sending it in. All told, that's about 131,000 new Republicans that haven't been registered in the state before. But the news gets even better. And this is news you will not hear on CNN or MSNBC. You only hear it here at the RPT. Our staff has analyzed Secretary of State data, as well as data from the RNC Data Trust. And we were able to determine what other Republican groups that are also registering voters in the state have accomplished. So far, we've come up with about another 80,000 names. That means in all total, there are over 200,000 new Republicans on the rolls in the last year, and we're on our way to 250,000 new Republicans. To put that in perspective, a fellow who you may know by Beto, but we call Robert Francis O'Rourke, put out a press release just today bragging about the Democrats' registration efforts and touting their huge number of 50,000 new registrations. Now, remember what I just said. Republicans have registered over 200,000 voters. That's a 4-to-1 ratio on the Democrats who like to brag about what they do on voter registration. And it's not just about registrants. It's about building an army. It's about building a volunteer army that can motivate and turn out our people for the fall. But let's not forget, you can motivate voters all you want, but if you didn't bother to get them registered, they're not going to do you any good. Registration has to come first. It's like a building block for the foundation. So how did we accomplish this? What did we do specifically? We made over 2.8 million contacts so far. Hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail, literally millions of texts, and a 5,000-person army of volunteers. Now, that army would not be possible if it wasn't for the work of our auxiliaries. And one of the goals of the RPT-VEP was to build up the auxiliaries of this party. Rather than reinvent the wheel, we went to the long-standing Republican groups and said, if we help you grow your membership, will you help us grow our party and win elections? And of course, they answered with a resounding yes. Probably our most important partner, not to slight any of the others, but the Texas Federation for Republican Women took on this project, embraced it, and have really just knocked it out of the park. Karen Newton last year, President Glennis Chester this year, and I got to give a special shout out to Rhonda Lacey, who's been our super volunteer. But with their help, these clubs have become engaged. But it's been a two-way street. It's not just that the TFRW has helped us. We've given grants to the TFRW so that they could have staff to build their membership. We've provided them with data. We provided them with data specialists so that they could help grow their own membership. And what is the result of that have been? In May of 2019, the TFRW had approximately 6,800 members. By the end of the year, they had 10,800, an increase of 4,000 through their efforts with an assist from us. I just talked to TFRW leadership about 10 days ago, and I got the exciting news that in 2020, they've already signed up over 1,000 new members that had never been members before. So TFRW has been a tremendous partner, and this will help all of our candidates. And it doesn't stop there. We've been working with the Texas Republican Chairman's Association and Chairman Jack Barcroft. Chairman Dickey just delivered a check today to help supplement their efforts so that they can help the local county parties, and previously given grants for their staff. And it doesn't stop there. We've helped the Young Republicans and the Young Conservatives of Texas. And we enlisted them to help go door to door in the spring before COVID hit. But the idea being is, if we're going to build this party, it's about not only going out with TFRW getting more women or county chairs getting more county chairs. We have to get that new generation of Republicans. We've got to get new blood into the party, and that's what we've been doing. And we went out and paid young Republican volunteers their expenses so that they could go door to door. They did a great job. There were members from the Young Conservatives of Texas, members from the Young Republican Federation, and we just recently funded their program for their expansion. So all told, we've laid the groundwork for winning in the fall. Now, the news gets even better, because you'll say, well, that's Texas. How are we going to do nationally? I have been told, because we've been sharing this information with the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee, that now a full 13 other states are adopting our template for this type of action. So that should give you hope that when you hear about these polls nationally, what they don't know is that in these other states like Texas, Trump volunteers, RNC people are adopting the Texas plan to go out, identify, register voters, turn them out so that we can win in the fall. And finally, let me talk to you about something that's really not nuts and bolts or Republican or Democrat. It's about our country and our principles. This election is not merely about electing Republicans over Democrats. You know this, being an activist and a delegate. The true purpose of our party is not to elect Republicans. The true purpose of our party is to advance our principles as enumerated in our platform. Now, I'm a little biased, having served for President Trump, but I will tell you that I am a huge Ronald Reagan fan, having served as his state chairman of Young Texans for Reagan in 1980. So I say this with all deference and respect to the great President Reagan. But I really believe in my heart there has not been a more administration than the Trump administration. And if you think about it, what people criticize the president for is actually following through on his promises. People criticize him for border security that he ran on. People criticize him for tax cut, which he ran on. People criticize him for expanding the military, which he ran on. This is the first time in my lifetime, and maybe even history, that people are criticizing a politician for doing what he said he would do, as opposed to criticizing him for doing or she what they didn't, for not doing what they said they were going to do. So that all means this. This is an ideological battle between Republicans and Democrats. And our party platform is being implemented by the President of the United States, and he wants help doing that. That's why he personally called me into the Oval Office and asked me to come back to Texas to help our senior Senator John Cornyn, because he wants a legislative partner. That's why it's so important we work for our U.S. House candidates so we can take back from Nancy Pelosi the House. And here in Texas, most importantly, we've got to keep the Texas House so it doesn't flip. But this is also that we can put our agenda in place so that we can represent the values of the Republican Party and its principles. And I would defy anybody to suggest that President Donald Trump is not faithfully not only executing the duties to his office, but he's also faithfully executing the duties to the party by representing the will of the grassroots. That's what this is about. You know, 50-some years ago, a state senator now from Houston and I were students at Memorial High School. His name is Senator Paul Betancourt. And we used to laugh back then because we would take on what we called the Young Socialists and the McGovernites. And we thought at that time our nation was at an inflection point, that our country may go down the socialist trail, but Ronald Reagan turned it around. And we won in '72 by a landslide. I was just talking to Paul the other day, and little did we think that 50 years later, we'd be fighting the same battle. But here we are. But there's a lesson in that win 50 years ago. And I can promise you this. We will win this state if everybody does what they need to do. The one thing that I will agree on those polls is Every single poll for the last 10 years in Texas show that not only are there more Republicans than Democrats in this state, but more importantly, there are about twice as many conservatives in this state than liberal. And there's about twice as many people that say they're strongly conservative than strongly liberal. We will win this state because we have the right ideological message. We will win this state because we will be true to those conservative principles. All that we're lacking is to make sure that everybody gets out, registers to vote. If you'd like to help, all you have to do is text to 10K to 72,000, 10K to 72,000. If you will do that, if you will join us in this mission, we will not only re-elect the President of the United States, re-elect Senator Cornyn, hold the Texas House, but more importantly, we'll have the opportunity to continue with President Trump enacting the principles of the Republican Party of Texas, which you are here today and the day subsequent to enact. Thank you. God bless you. It was an honor to serve the President. It was an honor to serve as your chairman, and it has been an honor to address you today.
Well, that is Steve Ministeri, who is the former chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Basically, the chair, James Dickey, came out and said they're still not, they don't have all of the credentialing done, that they're still having problems, and they don't have an update for us. So, as kind of a filler, Steve Ministeri came out. So they said basically, the governor or Mr. Dickey said basically, hang tight and he'll let us know. So that's good words for us as well. And so what I'll do is I will pause the program again and get back to you.
Chairman James Dickey of the Republican Party of Texas. Due to the extenuating circumstances and technical issues, this body will adjourn and reconvene at noon tomorrow. We will follow shortly with a revised convention schedule.
Wow. Okay, so we are adjourned till tomorrow at noon. This is a massive problem, obviously. So anyway, keep praying for the staff and for the party. And we're obviously under attack. I think it's the Democrats. I think it's liberals or the leftists that are doing this. It's my opinion. I don't have any proof, but that's just what I think. So I guess we will see everyone tomorrow, and I will be putting out new links for the new senatorial district whenever they've rescheduled